Habs Lunch, Campbell versus Gallo. I'm Sean Campbell. That's Peter Vryonis as the Montreal Canadiens are in the middle of the summer. They're all enjoying Nick Suzuki's aftermath of his wedding this past weekend. But what are we doing in studio? We're trying to solve problems like what will the Canadiens do without Yoel Armia and Christian Dvorak out there on the penalty kill. There's so many. Who's going to play with Demidov? Is Struble going to get enough games? Will David Reinbacher make the team? There's so many questions. We can go one a day. We can interact via text message at 11690. You can use the iHeartRadio app. Hit that little microphone. You can send a little message, and we will open up the phone lines in about 10 minutes' time at 514-790-1690. But the question is, that I heard on the morning show, not how do the Canadiens replace the offense that Dvorak and Armia provided. I think you can do that with the acquisition of Dobson on the blue line. Bolduc will score some goals. There's going to be players on the team that you're expecting to take a leap forward. What's Demidov going to be able to do offensively? So missing their offensive traction is not going to be there. But if you were trying to create, let's not talk about the defense. Let's just talk about 5 forwards. If you want to go 6, you can go 6 on the Canadiens. But if you were trying to pick penalty killers on the Montreal Canadiens, who is going to be there? Who is going to be the ones that Marty St. Louis is going to choose? Because there might be a name that is a little bit of a curveball, because last year, going into training camp, we probably would not have thought, Josh Anderson's never been really used that way, and then he was used this past year with success. Does Marty St. Louis have another name like that up his sleeve? So maybe we can brainstorm. Maybe you have the same 5
I mean,
that I have.
I already have my 5, Sean.
You're
pretty
ready
simple
to go?
to me, yeah.
You don't think it's difficult? You think it's easy to select?
Yes, and honestly, when it comes to penalty killing, it is a skill. Like Jake Evans is very advanced in that department as opposed to maybe his offensive side of things, right? That is a skill that he possesses.
Yes.
But 90% of penalty killing is work ethic,
yes,
and physicality, and wanting to put your body on the line. So for that reason, I mean, my 5 names, they're pretty simple. It's Josh Anderson, it's Jake Evans, it's Brendan Gallagher, Nick Suzuki, and the 5th name that I'm going to throw at you there is Zach Bolduc, who they just acquired from St. Louis. Really responsible defensively, someone that they're even talking about converting to center, which I don't want to see happen right away if I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. I kind of want them to ease him into this atmosphere and him get acquainted to being with the team before we talk about him being a full-time centerman in the NHL. But
I still think he's a winger.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm not there.
But there's nothing wrong with that, though. He's very responsible defensively. He's got a heck of a shot on him. He's physical. He's a big guy. He is someone that is going to add a jolt to this Montreal Canadiens lineup, and someone that I think Marty St. Louis is going to grow trust with immediately once he hits the ice with the Canadiens. So I see Zach Bolduc joining the fold as kind of that 5th kind of attacker killing penalties for the Canadiens all season long.
Okay, so I'm going to go your list, and my lists are different. You have your 5, I have 5 of my own.
Sure.
There are 3 that are the same, and I think on everybody's list, if you're texting in right now, if you're using the talkback, if you're ready to phone call and you're just giving 5, I think on everybody's list they'll have these 3. I think it's the easy 3 because they were used in the penalty kill last year, and that is your Josh Anderson, your Jake Evans, and Nick Suzuki. What is one of the biggest things that you need on the penalty kill is you need possession. You need to win faceoffs. And without Dvorak, it's a no-brainer that Evans and Suzuki, the 2 center icemen, they're going to be out there on the penalty kill. So to me, it's a no-brainer that they are out there. Dvorak was out there on the penalty kill to win faceoffs. We understand that he was out there in overtime to win faceoffs, so it's a no-brainer. Anderson is there. He did it last year. I think you and I thought it was a good role for him to develop into, that he succeeded. He got better as the season went along.
And he transformed himself. It takes a lot to do that when you are 30 years old, like Josh Anderson, right? Like, he was always a guy who was going to pot 20 goals for you, be physical, but never really took that same responsibility to the next level when it came to his defensive game. But guys came in. Opportunities were taken away from him on the power play in the top 6, so he had to adjust. And for him to do that at that stage of his career, under the leadership of Marty St. Louis, it leads me to believe that he can talk that same narrative into any player, right? Like if Josh Anderson can do it, a guy who is established in this league for so long, why can't you do it at 23 years old or something like that?
So you went with Bolduc and Gallagher as 4 and 5, and I say you could go 4, but most teams need at least 5, sometimes 6. The Canadiens kind of had 4 penalty killers, but Suzuki was the extra one because they wanted to worry about his ice time. I think you have to just scrap that because he plays 2 minutes on the power play now, and now he's going to play penalty killer. He's going to be getting boatload of ice time, Nick Suzuki. So you went Gallagher and Bolduc. I have 2 other names that I'm going to choose instead. I'm really intrigued about your Gallagher. I want to see it in preseason. I'd love them to start the season with Gallagher with this type of role. I know a lot of people feel that you need speed and, quickness on a penalty kill. And he may not have that at this stage, but I think it's about work ethic and intelligence, and he has that. And he's a guy like Anderson that has adjusted his role down the stretch. So I'm okay with your Gallagher. I'm okay with the Bolduc as well. I just don't know enough about him to say that I can see him as a penalty killer. Maybe the first day I'll be like, yeah, perfect, love it, let's see it, let's go. You're a penalty killer, I'm in. I can't divide. So I'm going to go with a couple players that I know. I mentioned that speed and using that on the penalty kill. I'd like to see Alex Newhook out there. It's something he didn't do that often. I always felt that he had it. He's got to make sure that he plays the system that the team's out there. But with his speed, you would think that it works that way. And for me, I want to see Newhook on a third line. I don't want to see him in the top 6. I've kind of seen that enough. And he might be on a second line. But if you're in a bottom 6, those are the guys that you need on your penalty kill, like your Gallagher, like your Anderson. So I am going to go in Newhook. And I don't know if I'm throwing you a loop because some people may not even have him on the Habs. But he started and finished the season with the Habs. And then he finished with the Laval Rocket. And I do believe he has a leg up with a lot of the forwards to be the first one on the team.
I like where you're going with this.
He's a center iceman. And I mentioned center icemen need to win faceoffs. He's a young center iceman. Mostly with the Canadiens, he's been playing wing. But I think there's a great opportunity for him to be the 4th line center this year with Dvorak moving on and them not acquiring a center. It's Oliver Kapanen. I have Oliver Kapanen as one of my 5. Now, I like your Gallagher. I like your Bolduc. But if you're asking me today and I'm giving you a list, I'd be like having a conversation with Oliver. Look, you want to make this team? You're probably not going to be on the power play. Like, we got all these weapons. You want to do something on the bottom 6? You got to establish yourself as an NHLer. Establish yourself as a penalty killer. And I every time I watch him, I think he's a smart player. I think that he's a player that has offense and has offensive potential. But if you want to make the NHL every day, you have to start somewhere. And I think it's a great way for him to be introduced to the NHL as kind of like a 4th liner, penalty killer, work on how to play the game, and then evolve your game step by step, especially as a center iceman. Because I do believe the Canadiens need him as a center iceman. They didn't acquire that center iceman that you thought. I'm not expecting him to bring boatload of points. I'll probably, if you're giving me a projection of points for him, it'll probably be like 22 to 25. It might be more, it might be less. He may not even make the team. But to me, I'm going with you, Evans, Anderson, Suzuki, but I'm going Newhook and Oliver Kapanen.
I don't mind that. I just worry a little bit about the physical aspect when it comes to Oliver Kapanen. I think he can develop that part of his game.
Well, you're not going to get Armia, right?
No, you're not. And Dvorak, too. The way that he was winning faceoffs and controlling possession off the hop for the Montreal Canadiens, that was crucial. And it's going to be very hard to replace that this upcoming season. But again, the Canadiens were not going to pay $5.4 million that the Flyers did for Christian Dvorak. So it's kind of a give and take in that department. But when it comes to Kapanen, I feel like he's ready to be an NHLer. And if you're on the 4th line, chances are you're going to have to kill penalties at some point. But I just worry that he's just not mature enough physically to really battle it out in the corners and win possession like a Gallagher does or like a Bolduc does, who lays his body on the line.
But maybe it's about positioning, speed, stick in the right lane, reading the penalty kill, being good in the room. Great. I don't know, but this is something if you're asking me today,
it's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah.
Like there are many names that we are throwing out there that we could see killing penalties and being responsible defensively, and that is the kind of depth that the Canadiens have built over the past couple of seasons.